Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Get ready to create magic and miracles as you lean into your heart's desires. I believe not only does the heart want what it wants, but it knows. This show is a weekly deep dive into what it means to live from an awakened heart. I'll be sharing inspiring stories and real conversations with people just like you, who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. My mission is to show you how you too can be connected and heart-centered in every area of your life. Your journey to aligning with more love, more joy, and your wildest dreams come true starts now. Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters, and I just wanted to pop on really quick today. This is just going to be a really quick solo episode. We are, as I'm recording this, a week post-election. And what a crazy week it has been. And regardless of what political party you align yourself with, one thing I'm sure we can all agree on is it's been really draining. And a lot of people, myself included, have experienced a little bit of post-traumatic stress over the whole thing. While I am not intending this to be a political discussion, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or if you believe in space aliens, it doesn't matter. So we're not going to get into any of that because people are so divided over what they believe in. And, you know, everyone has a right to believe how they want to believe. So it's not about that at all. There is a greater picture at work here. There's something much bigger going on here. So I know there's a lot of investigations are happening. There's a lot of voter fraud. The other side is claiming there's no voter fraud. There's a lot of propaganda, a lot of propagating happening. It is really crazy and unprecedented. We've never experienced that before in the United States. So regardless of what happens, all I hope is this doesn't happen again. And if we have any kind of voter fraud at all, we don't have a country. We just don't have a country. And we're the United States of America. This cannot happen here. So in the end, regardless of who ends up taking the White House, we'll at least know that things went over with a fine-tooth comb to avoid any discrepancies. So it's not even about this election. It's the ones that are in the future. So with that being said, I just wanted to touch upon on some election self-care tips that can carry you through the week and weeks, because seems like it's going to go to the Supreme Court. So we're really not going to have any kind of decision made until December, it looks like. So in the meantime, what can we do to take care of ourselves? I think we can agree on one thing, that this week sucks. Last week sucked. We've been robbed of the day after election clarity we're accustomed to. We just lost an hour of daylight and there's still a pandemic. Dealing with the 2020 election and the final results requires a few deliberate steps to protect your emotional and mental health. And let me tell you, I'm not one to mince words, and I'm not looking to pretend that everything's all very perfect in my world. I know I preach about the divine feminine, and this divine feminine lost her mind for a little while. I could not put down the phone. I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the mainstream news in years because I don't really believe that they are telling us the truth. Way before this election happened, I didn't like how they were always pushing fear and hate and division and racism and all that. So I was getting my news sources from the people that I know and trust, reading, watching my Instagram channels and following news reporters that are more independent. And I was glued to that phone. Like I would spend hours at a time on that phone. Like literally, I think I lost 12 hours in a day once. Like I couldn't get enough of it. Like I was scared to death about what was happening, and what I was seeing happening before my very eyes, and everything that I've known about before, it was coming true. And so I projected a lot into the future, a lot of fear and all that. And in Oregon, we got some really crazy measures that were passed that don't align with my values and that I don't like. So I probably won't be in Portland more than another year. So I will be leaving here. So that's another thing that was added to the mix, is having to figure out where I might go next. So yeah, I got to decide where I'm going to go. And then thinking that like our medical freedoms might be taken away. Like I'm going to go off grid. Anyway, I allowed it to spiral out of control. And I was in my mind like for a week straight. And finally it culminated on Monday, this past Monday, where I stayed in my robe all day. I didn't take a shower. My hair was up. I was like in total, like, I was so distraught. And I think everything in the last 8 months really added up to that day on Monday, because as soon as the pandemic hit, I started working more than ever. I was so busy with work that I didn't get a chance to slow down and really process everything that was happening to me. It all hit me at once. So that day was my self-care day. Like, did I meditate? Did I do any of the things that really I usually use to bring me back into myself, into my calm feminine self? No. I went downstairs, I think at 12:30, and I made breakfast. And then I looked at my wine bottle. I'm like, is it too early to drink? I'm like, yeah, it's a little too early to start drinking wine. I'm like, oh my gosh, looking at my orange juice. I'm like, you know what? I went to my freezer. I'm like, I got Tito's. I got Tito's vodka. So I made myself an orange juice and vodka and pomegranate juice. So I started drinking at 1:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, ooh, if it's the end of the world, I'm going to have a good time at it. So, and then I ended up getting on a FaceTime call with my friend Alexia Maloki, who is in Beverly Hills. And she always makes me laugh. She's such a wonderful person. So if Alexia, you're listening to this right now, thank you very much. That brought my spirits right back up. So, and then I just had a boo-hoo day, and I think I went to bed early. I had candles. I was moping around. I didn't even do the dishes. So, and then I went to bed, and the next day I woke up and it was gone. Like it was lifted. I don't know, maybe I tapped into the collective consciousness of all this chaotic thought, because literally it lifted the next day, and I had more trust, and I had more faith and more surrendering to whatever's going to happen. I'm going to come out okay. So, while there's a lot of confusion and chaos, one of the things we need to do, and I've realized, is I need to keep the faith, and I need to have a vision on the reality I choose to see and feel in my heart. I choose to focus my energy and my attention and my awareness on the deep knowing that all is working out for the highest and best good for all. So regardless of who is in office, and I will fight the good fight. You know what? I came out this week and I'm standing up for who I believe is right for myself and to keep this country safe. And it's not a very popular choice, but and I'm willing to take the backlash for that. Whoever, I'm not going to hate you because you believe in somebody that I don't believe in, even though I think your person might be a clown. You think my person is like, there's been so much backlash against him. Now I'm getting backlash and I'm losing quote unquote friends. But, I stand by what I believe in. And that's what I've learned through my process. I spent so much time really wanting people to like me, to agree with them, not have a difference in opinions. I've gotten to a point in my life where, I do a lot of research. I do a lot of deep digging, and I stand by what I believe in. And there's so much more going on here than most people are seeing, that they're allowed to seeing. So my advice to most people is throw out your TV, and oh Lord, throw that TV out and just start thinking for yourselves. So, after that boohoo time, I realized that God and the universe and whatever you believe in, whatever you choose to call your higher intelligence, that we connect to things and letting them handle the details, so it's all about surrendering. So what can we do right now in this moment? So here are 3 things that I thought were really good to take care of ourselves during this post-election. One of the things is acknowledging how you're feeling. When you're worried, you can't just will the worry away. You have to honor that emotion and really dig at the source before moving forward. Don't try to get over your emotions, because that's almost invalidating them. That emotion is here for a reason. It's about honoring that emotion and so being present with it. We have to acknowledge those things. And once you make peace with your emotions, how to find a way to channel it into positive actions. Instead of worrying about the outcome, just realize I want to send energy towards whatever is important to me, not getting lost in that chaos. So taking yourself outside of things, going for a walk, getting into nature, that's always my thing. Getting out in nature, breathing in that fresh air, and reconnecting to yourself. You can also look at what's important to you and meditate on it or say mantras to support it. I sure didn't do that last week. I did my little boozing it up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But I know to return to that. I was able to function this week. I had my day, like boohoo day, and now I'm back. Now I feel more focused. I feel more clear. I'm able to tackle other projects and be productive. So just know that whatever you're feeling, it doesn't last forever, and just allowing it instead of denying it. The second most important thing is to get enough sleep. When you worry and you pair it with waking up and waiting for the results, means you're probably not getting enough sleep. And not getting enough sleep can negatively impact your mood, your memory, your ability to work. It sure did mine. If you're not getting enough sleep, resist the urge to sleep in. So hitting the snooze bar or sleeping in for more than 2 hours past your normal time, believe it or not, a change even in an hour to your sleep schedule can throw your internal rhythm out of sync. If you are up late the night before, you will be tired in the morning, but getting up will keep you on track for a great night's sleep the following night. Make sure that you keep your usual wake up time and don't try to sleep in the next morning, and get outside if you can. Like I said, nature is the biggest, for me, it's the biggest cure of all. Really, it sets me right back. And a light exposure, because that can help you reset your biological clock and hopefully keep you well alert for the rest of the day. Additionally, fight the urge to have any caffeine later in the day. Doing some caffeine early in the day, it's okay to get you some energy, but typically, doctors tell us that don't drink caffeine after lunch because then it'll possibly interfere with sleep the next night. And another thing is, don't be scrolling through your feed just before you go to bed, especially if you get news that you don't want to see. And we've been recommended this for years, that you should not be even looking at your phone for an hour or two before going to bed, because the light from the phone disrupts your sleep pattern. So just put your phone away, maybe put it in another room so you have no access to it. And so you're not, when you're waking up in the morning, reaching for it and getting right back on your Instagram and your Facebook and trying to see what's happening. The third thing is be choosy about who you spend time with. And, it's very easy to pick up emotions that aren't ours. Sometimes, honestly, we're picking up emotions that are fed to us by the news or from our neighbors or our friends or someone on Facebook. I really try not to scroll through any feeds during this time or turbulent times. I remember last election, I didn't know one thing about politics. I didn't care. I didn't care at all. This is the first election that I really felt that I had a huge stake in. So I didn't even know who won the last election until I turned on my phone and seen people freaking out over it on Facebook. So, and then it became Facebook politics. So I learned better. So I try to stay away from that stuff and only follow people that I trust. By worrying and getting on the phone and ranting with my friends and watching me getting all amped up, what am I doing? I am raising my level of adrenaline and cortisol, which means that my fight or flight response is up and I am going to be more reactive. I'm less likely to sleep well and less likely to have a positive attitude. Therefore, I am going to take that energy and consciously or unconsciously turn it to my friends, the people that I see walking down the street that are masked, and I get triggered by them. They're masking kids when they're outside in the park and alone on the wooded path. So I've learned to have to breathe, take that in, and have compassion for them, because everyone has their own comfort level and are seeing this whole situation from their own perception and whatever filter they are seeing through. Also, try to avoid people who aren't good for you energetically. We see a lot of this happening out there. I mean, people are like choosing not to be friends with somebody just because you voted a certain way. But how good are those friends really anyway, right? So whether it's somebody who is politically aligned with you, and that's very negative and reactive, or somebody who's not politically aligned with you, who tends to maybe gloat or be highly reactive. Over the next few weeks, really change who you allow into your orbit as another form of self-care, because none of us are going to need during this week or really any time people who are negative, who suck our energy. Certainly we don't need any emotional vampires in the next few weeks. So right now, if you are feeling the heaviness of fear, the anxiousness of uncertainty, any anger or frustration, come back to focusing and feeling into what you choose to have faith in. And don't get mired down by how it will happen. Do your best to release any attachments to how things are supposed to be and stop looking for any blame or shame. When you get into a better feeling place, inside you will be clear and grounded enough to be guided to your next steps. This includes staying open and listening to new information, even if it may contradict your long-standing beliefs. Stay open to other people's opinions and take everything with a grain of salt. Also remember, the pathway to where you want to go may not look the way you expect, but if you stay in the energy of positivity and have faith all is unfolding divinely for the highest good of all, that is when the miracles happen. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. And, just take everything with a grain of salt. Everything that people saying, stay positive, stay open to have debates and healthy discussions about all this. I mean, we are going through an unprecedented time where, there's no ends to these lockdowns, and we're hearing one thing and then they're telling us another, and things just don't make sense. So hang in there, keep the faith, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Awaken Heart Podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, head on over to your favorite podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can reach me at theawakenheartpodcast.com.